Tonight's show, we're talking about the energy forecast for May, and I'm answering all your questions with live readings coming up right now.
Let's abandon human nature for a mystical adventure. We're building on a vulture.
Hello, beautiful souls. Happy Thursday Night Live. Welcome to the Cruisyverse. How's y'all week been? It's been a interesting week, hasn't it been? It's been kind of pressuring, trying, but you know what? There's always light at the end of the tunnel, right? So we'll kind of see what's going on for May because, April brought a lot of different changes, a lot of different realizations. It kind of enforced an identity shift, an identity change, an awareness of the old versus the new. And so we'll see what May brings with that as well. And we'll start with a collective reading, kind of got into the energy forecast for May as well. So before we get into that, let's see who's chatting on Cathy-on in the room here. Okay, actually, let me change my banners. I'm always bad at my banners. And they're a little off here. I don't know what's going on here with my banners. See, it's like really off kilter. The tech for me has been irritating this week. It's been kind of, let me just fix this bubble here. You see me kind of moving that bubble here. The tech has been driving me nuts. If you guys saw Leading Out Loud yesterday, I kept getting booted and booted and booted and booted. So I was just like, testing my patience. But I see who's chatting on Cathy-on in the room. Pamela Jaws, good to see you. April was awful, sick for 3 weeks. Give us good news of May. Yeah, well, again, I'm only reading it. I can't give it, but hopefully I can be the deliverer of good news. But a lot of people are sick. My dog fell sick. A lot of my friends' dogs fell sick. A lot of other people fell sick. So yeah, April was very, very intense. Jennifer Cruz, hello. Brenda Zweck, good to see you. Julia Fox as well. She's hi, excited about May forecast. Hope it's even better than April. I can say as a little bit of spoiler alert, it will be actually. May starts a sense a new rhythm and new momentum moving forward. So my wonderful mod Nina is in the room. She's back too because even Nina was actually sick. So again, if you want to get your questions in, 15 for a card pull, 20 for one question, 30 for two questions, 40 for a live video with me. The PayPal and Venmo links are in the descriptions below. If you have any questions, our wonderful Monty will be able to help you and assist doing so. Bonnie Smith says, first time here. Love the trio last night. Well, great to have you here. Welcome aboard to the Cruisyverse is what we call it here every Thursday Night Live. So glad to have you. Noelle Way, my sister from another message. Good to see you. David Cruz, my maker. His family's up in the house today. Janelle Haugen. It's going to be May. Hey, hey. That's right. It's going to be May. Hey, hey. And I'm going to see you at the end of this May, finally. Janelle, so I can't wait for that. Lydia Jane, good to see you. Jill Louise, good to see you as well. Give blessings. And James P88, good to see you. And those who are watching can always use Chatty on Cathy-on in the room. But let's get this collective read started. And those who are new, I'm a psychic medium, so I don't really necessarily need cards. But I'm going to start with a collective read, then we're going to get into kind of the transition into the May forecast. And if you want to get your questions in now, get them in now, because right after. Do you see what I'm saying with this tech? Things are just. I can't handle it. Get your questions in now because, of course, once I'm done with the collective read and the topic, then I'll be closing on out. So if you want to get your questions, get them in now. Let's shuffle these cards and see what we have to say as far as the collective read, and then we'll get into the forecast for May. So let's shuffle these cards. Maybe that's the universe saying to hey, play music, but that's not the music I want to play. Okay, shuffle these cards. It's going to be a quick one tonight because we don't have such a large topic, so it'll be quick this week. I'm sure a lot of you all want to get to the nitty-gritty too. These cards are clear, so that means things might be clearing up energetically, okay? Gotcha. Yeah, is that James and Cardino? Karma, good to see you as well. Yes, is that James P? It is James P. It has to be an incognito. It's a new name for him. Okay. Give me a couple seconds. Let me tune in. We'll start the collective read and we'll get into May. So this collective read is just kind of what you need to know, kind of like what Spirit wants to, kind of get things clear on, and then we'll get into the forecast. Give me seconds as I can tune in. Okay. Okay. So with the Ten of Swords coming out here, popping at me, it's really much my defeated card. So, and I heard this before the card got pulled about accepting defeat. Now, what does that mean? It sounds very grim, sounds very kind of, oh my gosh, helpless, hopeless. Not so much, because sometimes there's things that you just cannot win the battles on. And so sometimes accepting defeat on, you know what, I can't change that person. I can't get through to that person. You know, I'm kind of on an uphill battle when it comes to this certain career opportunity. So, and this job, this place of employment I might be at. So all these circumstances, you might have to just accept defeat and say, you know what, this is not my territory. And perhaps I'm spending so much time in a territory that's not mine. Maybe that's why things aren't progressing for me. April, right? And so when we're in our surrounding, in the environments that we are in, and we are able to be conscious of the things that we are participating in, right? You start recognizing this no longer fits. It's like an old shoe that doesn't fit any longer. I got to get a new pair of shoes. Mama, Dad, I got to get a new pair of shoes. That's what this time is calling us for right now. And it's, again, the defeat isn't so much that you failed or that you've lost. It's by saying, I'm not equipped for this. It's just like when you hear the common phrase about don't argue, it's stupid, right? Because you're just never going to win. Not that I'm being so dismissive and degrading about your circumstances that you have to accept defeat on, but there's sometimes you just are not able to get through. And we need to be very conscious of this. The more we know ourselves, the more we know it makes us tick, the more we know it makes us kind of, agitated or, gives us excitement and joy, the more we're refined of knowing those things, the less we have to accept defeat on things, because we'd be so in tune and in sync with the things that do represent us. We'll gravitate toward those things, or we'll kind of repel away from things that don't necessarily represent us and so forth. So now is the time we have to ask ourselves, are you still trying to fight something that's just there's a no-win situation on? Are you trying to repair something, a relationship right now that there's no winning on? They just kind of have to say, I accept my defeat or accept my failure on this. And again, I want to kind of clarify, because we'll get that out and we'll claim it as failure, but it's not a failure. It's just you're pushing in the wrong avenue, the wrong environment. And so April was supposed to bring a lot of that. I've called it the House of Mirrors, where it's all those, everywhere you looked as a mirror reflection of you. That was April. It's shown to you like, yep, here's a reflection here. Yep, this relationship is reflecting a deprivation here. This is the whole point of what April was supposed to bring to us, is that realization, and just in front of our faces. But you can't walk in that house of mirrors and all of a sudden start trying to change the mirror or comb the mirror, and shift the mirror. So just walking and finding your way out of that, finding your way and maneuvering your way out of the circumstance to find your clarity. That's what April is about. And it's also, April is mainly about an emotional purge, right? And really purging those deprivations, really purging those frustrations. And then looking at the frustration, because when you can actually view, and this is what physical 3D reality is all about, our soul came to incarnate to look at things, to observe things, right? Because in spirit reality, things are quick, ever changing, like this. So with the construct of time, we get to kind of space things out and observe, right? And look and experience, so we can gain more insight and wisdom into the self. And we do that through our experiences, through what we're observing, how we're perceiving reality, how we're encoding and decoding reality, right? So April's there to get us to see all these elements so we can look at these tangible deprivations, realize that's not actually what I want anymore. That was like 10 years ago version of me that wanted that. Now that I'm checking in, I've been carrying and fighting for that desire when it actually doesn't even resonate or even match the person I am today. Right? So April was supposed to bring that out. Now, if you've been fighting that, then yes, you're going to fall victim to sickness. You can fall victim to deprivations, or things are being piled up on top of you. You might feel a little suffocated. A lot of people are definitely in a position to where they just want to kind of avoid those things. But again, like the House of Mirrors, everywhere look, there you are. Everywhere look, there you are. So same with your circumstances, the things that piss you off, there you are. You're in that. Somehow you're in it. Because as I always say, if you're not able to be objective and unaffected in the situation, guess what? Then you relate to it. Whatever you react to, you relate to. And so that means if you see wonderful things in someone, then you have the wonderful, qualities that you possess in the person that you see too, and perhaps need to express those different elements of yourself in your own personal way. But if there's things that irritate you so much about someone you're just reacting so much to, there's something within yourself that relates to it. Either you're doing that to yourself, or you're allowing others to do it to you. Right. And I'm going to be repetitive on this, because some of you guys hear me say this all the time, that pain means no. So when you have pain about something, your soul's saying, no, I don't agree. When someone treats you poorly and you have pain, like your soul saying, I don't agree. If you get angry about something too, you say, I don't agree with that essence. So then what are you going to do about it? Are you going to try to fix the mirror and change the mirror? Comb the mirror's hair? Are you going to try to do all that? Or are you going to say, like, I see you for what it is, and I'm going to maneuver and change my reflection and maneuver away? And that's what April is supposed to bring that mastery for yourself on, because when things start moving forward and things start pressing play, you're going to be thankful that you cleared out the congestion. You'll be thankful that you've actually eliminated the distortion in your reality that was causing you to not see things very clearly. Because you remove those filters from your consciousness, and now, like, I can see clearly. I'm more discerning, more intuitive now. So yes, April's very challenging because, like, one thing here. I feel like it's like when, the simple cliche of it, when it rains, it pours. That's definitely was this April. Not every April, but this April particularly. And so as we entered within Taurus season 2, the psychic currents for me is very much saying that it is about, like, finding your grounding and solidification and your security within the self, and find the confidence within yourself to proceed in whatever manner you want to proceed in. If that means that you're standing up for yourself, if that means that you're actually, taking that risk. So many people are just like, oh, they blame their age for their inability to move forward in life. It's like, as long as you can take a breath, you have the ability to do something in your life. Why are you not taking that abilities? The reward, the blessing you have of breath. Why aren't you using that time to do something, regardless of your age? And so we should not be taking those breaths for granted, as long as you're given it. And so, again, this is why we need to make the best of our times, and start saying to ourselves, where do I really relate now? What environment do I really relate in? What is the essence? Am I just listening to this person just yak all the time and feed me and dump on me just because I feel sorry for them? Does that need to go? Or do I need to set a boundary for that? Because, I'm in a position, you might say to yourself, I'm sick of fucking listening to people. I'm sick of hearing it. I'm over it. And so you will have to honor what your inner self is telling you right now and solidify that and set those boundaries. Now we're going into the May forecast. This is the forecast for May now, because I wanted to start with April and we're going gravitating into May. Okay. Now, starting with May, the Fool card just sitting here. What does the Fool card represent? It doesn't necessarily mean you're a fool. The Fool card in tarot is very much all about new beginnings, but also being cautious and looking where you leap. So that's what May is very much indicative of right now. It's like you're setting your foundation, you're creating this new beginning, this new era, this new identity, as we've been saying about in April, and forming and pushing us to create a new identity. And now we're creating the foundations of such. But we're being cautious. Like, I'm setting a new trend to meet new people. I'm setting a new trend to start engaging with new activity. But I also have to be very, very aware and discerning that I'm not repeating and attracting similar past energy. So you're being on alert still. And I hate to say the word cautious, but you're being conscious. A lot of times we use the word cautious so much when we should be using the word conscious. And when you're doing this is where true confidence comes from. Because you're setting the tone now of everything. You're setting a tone of if you're caretaking someone, you're setting the tone of, okay, well, I'm spending a lot of time caretaking someone right now, then I have to spend a lot of this other time focusing on my desires, my interests, and engaging within my own well-being. You're going to have to set the tone for yourself. And the more you're setting the tone for yourself, you're being more comfortable in what you're setting up for yourself. That's where confidence derives from. I always say confidence derives from how comfortable you are with something. And the more comfortable you are, the more confident you are with it. So when you're getting more comfortable in your essence, you become more confident. And that's where you don't allow people to come in and start kind of, leaving their distorted energy and bringing your energy down or interfering with your well-being. All that stuff you start pushing away. Because, like, excuse me, no, I spent time building this foundation. Get out of here. Baffanculo, I'd be saying in Italian, like fuck off. You start being secured in that. Right? And that's the foundation that in this first part of May needs to be actually focused on right now and emphasized. Because May is going to be a month of movement, and that primarily like the mid-May, like the 14th, I feel like 14th to the 16th I feel like there's an uprising of psychic energy where it starts pushing things forward. Right? So the first part of May, you might start feeling people are starting to come out of the woodworks. Many things that have been delayed start showing some sort of, response, which starts tomorrow. People who you haven't maybe talked to for a while start coming out of the woodworks. So past relationships that maybe were not resolved start becoming resolved, right? So there might be also a lot of people from your past that maybe you were close with that are, maybe fell off the bandwagon, or maybe there was been a misunderstanding that will start resolving, come back into the true essence of friendships and relationships start resurfacing. And that also might even be where someone from your past resurfaces to where it gives you the option of saying, you know what, no, I'm actually completely moved on from this energy. And that might be a conclusion for you. So be a lot of past revisiting, I would say, in the month of May. And that would be kind of the first part of month of May for a lot of you guys. And that could come in different facets because it's a general read. Of course, one-on-one individually is going to be always different. So on an individual level, it may just be that you are revisiting older things of your past, older, circumstances, older interests you might have not participated in, right? Because we've done the karmic work kind of 3-4 months ago and last year. So not that we're never going to be doing karmic work, but right now I feel like a lot of us collectively have resolved a lot of karma. So we have to kind of recycle and start and recycle into a newer paradigm. And there'll be another time to where all the karma has to be resolved. And so we're just in a phase now. We're kind of repositioning ourselves and repivoting ourselves in a direction that's really true to ourselves. Right. And the accurate image of ourselves, you see, because the image we've created has been distorted by expectation of others, guilt from I have to caretake a person, or the guilt of I have to be responsible for this person. All those things have distorted our image. But the image in this May starts becoming more clear to us because we've been kind of doing this filtering game. So a lot of guys might have been doing it kind of more mentally, but I feel like you'll get that more movement in May, starting so. A lot of it's been purging and kind of resituating, in the physical, tangible ways in April. But those who have been doing it more mentally will see more of that movement in May too for themselves and clearing out, And so, moving forward in May, that's where we start seeing like past revisiting things, even maybe an idea from your past that was so great and kind of really work out, maybe come up and people would start seeing interest in it. Right. And so, and for those who don't have, because I feel like there's people watching and have much going on. Just some people I feel like are watching, like, I don't really have much going on in my life. Like, I'm just bored. And so those who are bored, you might start revisiting some older paradigms of fun. You might decide, maybe I should just go out again, or maybe I should just go join that tennis group, or because I have so many different age ranges that are of my clients that from young to old. So depending on a hobby that you want to get involved in, or maybe a lot of you guys might say, I just want to get back to working out again. Right. And this is no coincidence that's also summertime, that usually people do work out in the summertime, but this is very fitting for the psychic energy that's going on this summertime. Not every summertime warrants this, but this summer in 2026 will feel very organic for you to do it. You'll feel like a calling. And I've been saying this for quite a long time, that the summertime of 2026, I've been, made the predictions for last year, is going to be a time where we've all found our place, all found our right community of people, and we can position ourselves where everything feels more in sync. That's what summer brings. It's an explosion of energies, it's an explosion of change, and we're all finding the right communities, and a lot of things manifest from that position. A lot of opportunities, a lot of career shifts, a lot of relationship shifts and bumps, financial, increases and so forth. But mid-May, when you kind of feel more comfortable in your foundation that you've been setting, then you start really owning that. Now, the issue I'm feeling is during this May too, there's going to be a lot of conflict with people not enjoying the newer version of yourself. There's going to be a lot of conflict with people that you may have been pacifying, okay, that will try to make you feel guilty because you're no longer pacifying them, that you're actually, securing the self. There will be conflict. And as we adapt and we evolve to this identity shift as we've been going through April and start owning that, many people are not going to like that because you're no longer feeding them. And, I always think about in situations like this is that people who you pacify will get angry. When you create this new identity, this new persona, this new image of self-love, people you pacify will hate it. Will yell at you and get mad at you for that, call you mean and all these terminologies and call you an asshole. And so, but the people that truly support you will call you fierce. They'll embrace you. They'll encourage you to do more of that. So now it's time to start understanding this, because there will be people that are not going to like this change within you because you're no longer feeding them. Oh, well, it's not your responsibility to feed. It's your responsibility to lead. And you can probably lead them by showing to them that you actually are being responsible for yourself, as they need to as well. If they don't get it, they need to fall off. And that's, again, with movement, right? If someone is not on the same momentum and not in the same rhythm as you, and they try to hop on, they're going to fall right off. And that's what needs to happen. That's kind of what the rhythm of life needs to be in your own experiences. That's saying that you have to stop slowing yourself down to match somebody else and stay in their own rhythm, because you feel empathy for them, instead of just saying, you know what, I can't deprive my own life and evolution and slow myself down for somebody else, when they might be in a normal position in their life trajectory. They might be in a normal position of their growth, and they might need to go up that speed, and they're not behind, but you're making yourself behind because you somehow care about where they're at. And this is a fine line between empathy. And that's going to be another lesson as things start moving in May. That's going to be a lot of realizations, like, how much empathy do I really need for others versus do I need to be reapplying into myself? That rhythm is going to be very key to identify, because May is a month of movement. It's a month of movement. And I'm telling you that movement will pick up. And so you will have to make clear decisions and distinctions in your life about which things are holding you back and pulling you back, or which things have you latched onto that you haven't basically took off, the cord from, the chain from, the latch from, that are still just keeping you stuck. And many people say, like, I'm stuck, like they think there's some sort of like mystical, magical ether that's like just like bounding you. It's like, no, you have all these psychic connections to things that are just not, they're holding you back, and they're not allowing you to move because you've had these connections still active. You're still responsible for these connections. You feel guilty for these connections. Well, that's why there's no movement. So this month of May is all about movement. So that means you're going to have to cut the lines of things that are holding you back and that you've allowed yourself to be psychically and consciously attached to, and setting the tone. And those people are not going to like it. And that's when you know you're really changing. Okay? So as we move on into like mid to later May, that's where things really start moving. That's where you start, again, depending on where you're at in your personal life, that's where the career avenues start going in the direction you want to. That's, like I said previously, the sense of community, connect with the right people, start kind of emerging into the right positioning for you, right? And it's not even just the tangible physical things. You'll start feeling an innate desire to want to move, to get out and to do something, right? And to be active and proactive, whatever way it is. And so even on the simplistic level, like maybe I just want to go out for dinner this one time. Maybe I just want to go out to the farmer's market. Go and do it. Adhere to that. Follow the rhythm. Follow the cycle that you're in, that you're being pulled in, both individually and collectively. Because, the daydreaming is over. That time of daydreaming and fantasy is kind of over. Now it's really about the nitty gritty. Right? The simplicity, the physical aspects that you truly do need right now. Right? When I say physical aspects, I'm really talking about, the conditions, the environments that you want to be around, and really perfecting that, tweaking that. Right? And so that will bring in, by the conclusion of May, then of course, a lot of you all will feel the aspirations, and you'll feel the movement, right? But that movement does continue on in June. And I'll say that for a June energy forecast, because June, July, again, there's more activity, and we'll get in, it's movement in a different way, but, we go from movement to enjoyment, movement to, expression, movement into, circulation, right? This movement of May is like moving forward, starting the car type of movement, getting the gears going. And that's what this movement is representing in May. So don't let your thoughts go to waste. Whatever you're pondering, don't let it go to waste. Start considering. And if you have to make a journal, as simplistic and as cheesy as it sounds, if you're going to have to make a journal, say, I thought about doing this, and make a list and put it on your fridge or put it somewhere you see it. You're like, I thought about maybe wanting to go to da-da-da and write down, go to da-da-da, and just make a note of the things that keep coming up. Because when you actually have that come up again, then you realize you wrote it down. It came up again. Maybe this is something I should consider. And instead of letting all these inspirations come in and go nowhere. And they're like, I'm stuck. I don't know why. It's like you're not adhering to the inspiration. Put it in movement, right? So it's going to be less of the Hall of Mirrors of April. Less of that. Because even if you haven't really consciously identified that, your frustrations already are telling you what you like and don't like, and what needs to be shifted. And that becomes obvious and put into motion in May. Okay. Those who have had, I have to talk about, for some reason, those who've had like illnesses and ailments, it's pushing you to put into movement, actually, what does like self-care really mean? It's not just about going on a diet. What does your body need? Seriously, simple question. What does your body need? Ask yourself, what does my body need? If I'm healthy, I'm not sick, what do I feel like I need more of? You'll know, you'll be in tune. You're living in your body. You should be the one that knows what's going on with your body. And if you don't, there's a problem. And that's why there's health issues, because you're not in tune with the body. You're not in sync with your own body. We should know, if there's something with this organ, and go to a doctor, let them physically lay it out for you because they have the x-rays and stuff. But you should generally know what your issue is and what your deficiencies are. We're in tune. We are our brain is the nucleus of this physical body. Why do we not know? All that information is being sent to your brain, which is why there's alerts of pain, alerts of deprivation, alerts of all these different things the brain gets. So the body is sending signal to the brain. Why don't we know what's going on with our bodies? Why don't we know what's going on with our health? We should, or at least have a general idea. And once more, now the negative side of May about movement is, if you're not taking care of your body, you're going to push health and you're going to push illness in movement too. If you're continuing a relationship that's depriving of you and chaotic, you're going to increase more of that chaos if you're not leaving from it. It's going to push you out. It'll push you out. If you have someone who's constantly taking advantage of you and bombarding you, and you don't leave it, they will continue to bombard you until you're pushed out of it. And this is why a lot of people in circumstances like this feel like the rug's being pulled beneath them, is because, they were in an energetic cycle of movement and they failed to move in the right direction. So they were pushed out of it, or something explosive happens to get them out of the circumstance. If you're being negligent in your life, you will move into an accident. Let's not play around here. Let's be clear. If you've been so gaga aware and so aloof, and not being very objective and aware and conscious of your surroundings, you will push yourself into an accident. Be careful. And this is not to put any fear, right, or any type of negative energy. It's understanding the current that we're in, and because as much as it can push us forward, it can also push us backward too. It's movement, baby. And there's a yin and yang to everything. Everything has a yin and yang. Everything has a duality to it. So which end of the spectrum are you functioning in when it comes to that duality? And so, and it's the holding grudges, there's a difference between holding grudges, right? Some people are generally hurt by people. So they have a right to be like, I'm protecting myself. So it depends on what the grudge is. Someone just asked in the chat. When you really feel like you've been duped by someone or been hurt by somebody, for whatever the situation is, sometimes you might hold a grudge, say, I'm protecting myself. Right. And if you're doing it to protect yourself, then, it's not so much of a grudge as you're still hurt, and so a grudge, though, like if you're holding on for senseless reasons and, you haven't healed from it, then that would actually keep you from meeting other people, keep other new relationships from connecting. But there's different variables of such, and in different levels of holding a grudge. And I don't think in most cases people are holding a grudge when they just feel hurt from somebody. And, and feel shafted by someone. And they're just like, what? I'm not moved on from that. That triggers me that I'm treated that way. So that may not be a grudge. It might be you're still hurting from something, right? And trying to protect yourself, right? Because a grudge could be something that's like, again, like, oh no, they did this and they've asked for forgiveness. And, holding grudge is more so when they've tried to ask for forgiveness and you refuse to, and you still want to hound them over it. That's more of a grudge. Then you're actually going to, again, allow other people to just abandon you, or allow other people to, prevent other people from coming in, right? That's what a grudge will do if it's someone trying to make amends. But someone did you wrong and you're still hurting by that, well, then you're protecting yourself. But you want to override that to where, again, you just allow yourself to not have to process and have that reaction, with that situation. So, but yeah, and again, you all need to think about your relationships. I've been saying that we're coming at a stage of selfishness. If you're selfish in your relationships, you're not looking at a bigger picture, you're probably going to destroy your relationships around you. So understand that will push into movement too. It might be prevalent. And this is why a lot of people have things happen in their relationships. They don't know why. because they've probably did something wrong and really kind of abandoned a person, or was judgmental to someone. It was not showing grace to someone that they love, and which is unfair and imbalanced. But yet a relationship that they're currently involved with starts doing the same to them or other relationships. This is the time those things will start happening. Right? If you rob someone the inability of grace, then you are not going to be shown grace, and that will be evident because you might be in need of grace during this time and you won't get it. So we have to be aware, because these are energy currents. If you're, again, being disrespectful and selfish to someone who's cared for you, you're going to have that same response in return in other relationships. That's what karma is, guys, because you're in that state of energy. And if you're not doing anything to resolve it and solve it, it will manifest in its polarity, its negative polarity. So we have to start thinking about that, okay? And whoever just put a thumbs down on that needs to look in the mirror and realize they probably are doing that to themselves. So, okay. But we need to be really focusing on this, because, there's a lot of times like, I don't understand why this is happening. It's like, because you didn't resolve this over here. But May will push that in gear, because if you didn't take the heat in April, it will manifest. It will push it forward in May, I promise you. But same thing with the good things. If you've been doing great things, in your past and like helping people, and all of a sudden you start moving, you might realize people are showing up to assist you in ways that you're like, wow, I'm getting so much compassion. I'm getting so much assistance, so much care. This is amazing, because now it's in movement. And that karma is also catching up. It's now in play. So it works on both ends of the spectrum. So guys, clarify your lives. Resolve the unresolved relationships. That doesn't mean necessarily you have to engage with those relationships, but if there's any sort of energy with the relationship, you better resolve it, especially if you are the cause of it. Otherwise, be prepared for what's going to happen, because I've seen people lose jobs and break relationships, and all this comic. I'm watching, like, that's because they have this one relationship they screwed over and they didn't resolve it, and that's festering. That energy starts to contaminate everything else in their experience. It's no joke, guys. So all because you think that you're scot-free, or if you're selfish, or you're just whatever, the only thing about yourself, that's going to catch up, and May's going to push it in gear. And I'm just saying to you, this is not to be in fear. This is to be aware. Okay? Because some people like become very distraught. Like, why is this everything happening to me? And it's like, and I'm looking, and I read them like, there's all these psychic connections still open that are just contaminated and neglected and unhealed and unresolved. So when we allow ourselves to not judge ourselves or others, then we can actually move forward and things will resolve. We'll get the inspiration. We'll be discerning enough to make those resolves. And again, please don't misinterpret the fact of being self-cared and being a lot of people I talk to have a lot of guilt about taking care of themselves because of parents, because of, family and upbringing. They have guilt to focus on themselves, too much guilt. And so they don't do that. But, again, guilt doesn't mean that you're supposed to abandon yourself either. There's got to be a fine line and practice that balance. Because guilt comes from people who are very much not secure in themselves. They need to dump that on somebody else. Right? And this is something to realize, to recognize, because people that truly love you will support you, not want to be a burden for you, would want you to be burdenless. That's people who love you, have their best interests. But those who don't do that don't have your best interests at stake. So why do you format and program your life to those standards? Don't do that. So find the balance, because self-care means that you're able to care for others and others will care for you too. And that's the simplicity. There's nothing overly philosophical today. I think that was more last week was the philosophical talk about the, divine consciousness. But today's just more about the motivation and inspiration and cheerleading you on to understand the current, how to navigate, but just being aware. But, being wise is not so much information you obtain or retain. That's not wisdom. Wisdom is how you're able to be perceptive and to navigate through life's currents and use them to your benefit. That's wisdom. So many people have so much information and they can spout so much data and intellect and information. This quantum physics, and there's no wise wisdom within their being at all. They're just repeating shit. We can retain information, repeat stuff. Anybody can do that. But can everyone know how to navigate through life and experience to become a better and stronger person, to align with more of the essence of who they are? Do you know what I mean? So, and the more wisdom I seek in my life personally, the dumber I feel, which I like. Because I'm like, there's more to learn, right? People think they know it all. They're obviously not the brightest people. I'm always thinking, okay, I want more wisdom. And I'm like, oh, there's so much more to learn. I feel more humble, more, not stupid, but like there's so much more to learn. And I like that journey of that. And that becomes what quenches my thirst in life. The wisdom, the navigation. And I want you guys to feel that too. To feel that type of ambition for that type of change. No matter what age you are at. I don't care if you're 20. I don't care if you're 40. I don't care if you're 70. Because my mother has a client who's an 86-year-old stunt woman. So I don't want to hear your excuses. Betty White was acting up until she was 99. I don't want to hear excuses. Oh, but I'm 75 and my life is over and I don't know. It's like you still have decades of life left to live. Right? And so someone says being one with life is ego-free. Well, we have an ego for a reason. I think people demonize the ego too much because they're out of balance with their ego. The ego is there to help us to survive, as Lightstar was mentioning about the ego. The ego is there to help us to survive, but also is there to push us in circumstances and situations to do things to allow our soul to come through. So, I use my ego in a way to stand up for spirituality and bring the truth of spirituality because I've been doing this, tapping to the metaphysical space since I was 4 and being a reader for 13. Now, this is my 13th year as a professional reader. And so I care about the space. So my ego says, I know how to tend to my ego. My ego's like, I want to be a voice for spirituality and bring truth and ground it down and remove the fluff. My ego pushes me to do that. Right? Because I nurture my ego. I know its place. So I allow it to do the job it needs to do. So then my soul could do the job of expression. So I use my ego to set the tone for the physical plane, for the three-dimensional reality world. So my soul from 5D can actually come through and start, expressing what it needs to express. So we have to stop demonizing the ego. That's too much of the new age fluff. Okay? The ego keeps us grounded in physical reality, can do its job so it can attend to the stuff on autopilot that our soul can do more innately and expressing more one with the soul expression. And so we are physical beings. The ego was constructed for a reason. We are physical beings, and the soul needs the ego for the reason. Otherwise, if we have to kill the ego, why do we have one? Right? We just need to know the job of that and nurture the ego. Because if it runs the show, the ego starts running the show, guess what's happened? Things will go into disaster because the ego is left to just like constantly fight for survival to protect you. And you're not coming from the soul. You're not using your wisdom, your intuition. Then all the ego knows to do is just like, I got to like survive. So it's going to like cheat people. It's going to like push people away. It's going to treat people poorly. It's going to be in deprivation mode because that's all it knows. It's 3-dimensional. It does not see beyond, higher, like 5th dimensional above as our soul consciousness does. So then that will be very feisty. It'll be very bitter, angry, and take advantage of people, step all over people because they're disconnected from the soul consciousness. It's out of whack. So we are, again, understand place of ego. Understand place of ego so it can do the job so the soul doesn't have any obstructions in the physical world, right? And it's your ego that's going to give you the confidence to go out there and put your artwork on display. It's your ego that's going to do that. When you're focused on the soul expression, your ego's like, well, fuck that. I want to be one of the best. Not the best, but one of the best. Right? And that makes you push yourself more and to expand. So again, guys, synchronize it. Find the balance of it all. Right? This way, when things pick up in May too, and you're in that motion, you'll be so thankful for that balance. I'm moving, I'm inspired, but my ego's finding ways to get things done. I don't have any fear to reach out to contacts. My ego's like, I can do this because my soul's like in love with this expression. The ego's like, okay, let's do this. And boom, it's like a masterpiece and you have full innate power moving forward. Okay. So that's May. All right. And I do like to cover the yin and the yang of the energy currents because a lot of people who are not in the, I don't like to say positive or negative. Positive or negative seems very judgmental. I like to say powered or disempowered. So, and that's the yin of yang, right? Of the power cycle. So are you going to take the empowered version and go with the currents of May? Or are you going to take the disempowered version? And I will say to you who maybe those who are new, I've always said this as well, that every characteristic you have has a yin and yang as well. And so many people like, oh, I'm too sensitive. I'm like, well, sensitivity is a great trait to have. So with sensitivity, are you in the empowered version of sensitivity or the disempowered version of sensitivity? So you can be sensitive and be so empathetic and caring, but if you're too sensitive and empathetic and caring, you lose the self. Or you're on the other end of the spectrum of sensitivity to where it's like you take everything personally. On the disempowered version of sensitivity, everything's personal to you. You become so self-absorbed and like no one can say anything to you, and so you become very chaotic in your nature because you take everything so personal. You're so sensitive, right, and fragile. So you don't want to be in either extreme, because this extreme, caring too much, you lose yourself, and this part you're banning yourself and depriving yourself. So finding the balance of that means that, yeah, I care about people. I'm very sensitive to people's emotions, but I'm also sensitive to my own too. Sensitivity, that's a great characteristic to have. Don't depend on yourself. I'm Virgo rising. A lot of Virgos, we overthink too much. Overthinking is a gift. But again, are you so overthinking in a empowered version to where you're seeking out benefits of things and seeking information that can benefit your awareness? Or are you on the disempowered version, all you think is negative results? Things going to crap all the time. Again, the balanced part of overthinking is, I'm seeing the benefits of how I can structure, maneuver around certain things, but also I'm aware of what can go wrong, so I'm navigating. So we got to stop this, because you're in a certain extreme of your characteristic, they have to somehow get rid of your characteristic. No. And a lot of people in the spiritual communities think they have to change. I have to stop overthinking. I have to stop worrying. I have to stop being so sensitive. No. You have to balance out your overthinking and balance out the sensitivity so you're empowered with the characteristic. So many people in the spiritual communities are trying to change the characteristics. Like, honey, it's not going to happen. Right? So let's think about that too, that balance. And so May is going to be that time of movement. Let's use it for our benefit, guys. Okay? And let's really focus on quality too. Right? We don't need to be over encumbered with so much information. We have it all at our fingertips at all times. Some people just parrot information. It's like, we've heard it all. But the one thing that people are not doing is finding the wisdom to navigate in life to where they are not in disarray or despair. And allow themselves to find the power within of doing things they never thought they could accomplish. As cheesy as that sounds, that's reality. And that's May. All right. Appreciate you all. Before I get into live readings, I have a quick message from my wonderful mod, Nina. And so she did a channeled message for you guys as well. So as I get up for the setup for the live readings, here's a wonderful message from Nina.
What is up, Thursday crew? It's me, Nina. I'm excited to be back and doing another channel message for y'all. When I was tapping into the collective, I kept getting this imagery of an origami being folded over and over and over again. And I heard May brings the energy of many paths. There's many paths towards clarity. There's more what feels like momentum, what feels like movement or new ideas. Almost like if you've been thinking about moving, for example, or if you've been thinking about starting something new, the logistics kind of come through more strongly in May. I do also feel like kind of May financial stability coming through, or at least feeling like a little bit more steady than the previous months. And almost like the seeds that you've been planting since January start to begin to sprout more, start to feel watered more. And those many paths are almost not like tests, but a way for you to gauge which direction you want to be in come summer. What type of stability do you want to feel? What type of essence do you want to embody? And it feels like this kind of divine goddess feminine energy draping this kind of like what feels like a cosmic scarf over the collective in like this really cozy way of almost feeling like this step that you're about to take in May can also be comforting. It can also be joyous. It can also be something that's building for your ultimate highest good going into this year. And just to keep yourself grounded, even though we're moving out of Taurus, holding that Taurus element of coziness and groundedness when you're being presented, all this momentum or all this movement come May, that's going to be key in order for you to build something a little bit more stable come that that June, July kind of energy. Love y'all and see y'all in the chat.
Thanks, Nina, for that. Very in sync with our messages, clearly. So as you can tell, that's why she's my mod. And it's very true, guys. Take heed on this. You got my version, you got Nina's version too of how you can interpret the movement. Okay. All right, let's get into these live readings. And guys, you want to get a question, get them in now, because when I'm done with these, we'll be closing up shop and we'll be back next week. Or you can book a personal one-on-one session with me at scottcruisepm.com, which, again, my one-on-one sessions are more in depth than these live readings. These are simple questions, quick on the money. And so, yeah. Okay, so we have the first question from Ashley. It's from actually last week because she missed it. Do you see a relationship for me soon? Well, she wants something now. They're saying you're not doing. You're not. They're saying you're not visible right now. I think that's a better word that they're saying. So you're not being visible right now. And it's kind of what I was saying in the collective read, that you need to find the right environment for you. You're also speculating way too much about like, where's my relationship? I wonder when I'm just going to meet somebody. And it's like at that time you could be speculating, could be like going out, like going to different, events with friends and, being more visible, they're saying. So I don't feel a relationship like soon, like in next week or 2 weeks, but, I feel kind of an opening about July, August, around there, if you allow yourself to be visible. So your question is not so predictable as it is that you need guidance on how to change the energy, because you're repeating a similar energy right now that needs to be broken. Okay. And that cycle of ponderment, wonderment versus visibility needs to be adapted. And what we have to understand in these questions that we have, guys, you need to participate and act and do things and express things in life for things that come around, right? And I'm just saying this to people who are watching. So sometimes you might ask a question that's not so predictable. It's like, you got to change this. And then once you change it, then something will pop in your trajectory and be predictable. Many people want predictions, but they don't understand how predictions work. And so they blame a reader for that. So I did a video called Prediction for Dummies. I'm very vocal about it. You have to understand not every step we take is written in the stars. Sometimes you have to understand when you go to reader, what position am I in that I need to fix in order to get aligned with that. And I'm saying visibility for you right now. You're not being visible enough. You're being in wonderment and too much. And also you're around the wrong people. I'm also hearing too. Right? So you might want to just second guess, okay, maybe these are not the right people I want to be around if I'm going to step out and, going into relationships. But just they're circling like June or July, August in your trajectory to where there's an open position to start meeting new people for dating. But I feel more dating this year in that sense, not so much full-on relationship this year. Although now that could be changed if you kind of take heed of what I'm saying and really find the joy in being visible in that way. Then yeah, but there's things that need to be cleared out still. You have to clear out the fact of why do you feel the inability to want to be visible in the right way, and getting rid of the fear of vulnerability to a certain degree. Because even though you might want a relationship, there's still fear of vulnerability. And I also did pull some cards in this too, because these questions are so vague sometimes that you have to understand there's complexities to life and complexities to situations and circumstances. That's like, relationship's coming next year. Let me just pacify you with like, you're getting a relationship, it's right around the corner. Like that doesn't always happen. And I'm sure you know that, because otherwise you wouldn't be here with me. So, but your current circumstances of wonderment. So I pulled 3 cards in conjunction with what I just read. And the 7 of Pentacles is kind of... it couldn't be any more clear than what I was just saying before. What I just said is that you just you're in wonderment. When's it coming? You're just looking at seeds that you planted, like when are they going to sprout? When are they going to sprout? Instead of going out and participating, you're spending too much time in wonderment. So this is confirming what I just said. And the Magician card is saying that you have to understand you're in control, that you're the one that's actually activating a relationship or not, or the right ones or the wrong ones, and understand what visibility means for you of how to attract people and be attractive and so forth. That's what you have to kind of adapt to, is that integration connection. What connection really means. Otherwise, just like, I just want a boyfriend or a lover, and it's like, you're just going to have another vapid relationship versus what does that mean to be, what does chemistry really mean? Right? And the Fool card is a great card for you too, because that means there's like new beginnings this year for you. So like what I'm saying, like July, August is where this kind of new beginning energy current starts for you. And so, but you have some work to do on that emotionally. It's not that you're just like, I want a relationship, it's got to come. It's like you have some work to do between now and July, and clearing out a lot of that. Get out of wonderment, get out of more about visibility, and start understanding the environments you want to participate and engage in. Okay, so it's not so simple, this question. I get a frustration because it feels too that you're frustrated as well with this, and it's like relationships supposed to be like a natural current, right? And perhaps the frustrating relationships around you need to go. You know, I feel like you're trying to hop into something to replace emotion, to fill a void versus, you know, and that's subconscious. But I think this year you'll figure that out. All right. And that's why I feel like this July, August energy is where that open gateway comes. It's that change. So just do that simple work. It's not happening like this, but it's starting to. Okay. All right. Sarah McPhee, just a card pull, just to read my full mood experience. Okay. I'm getting a lot of questions lately, and I as a reader, I get burnt out just in general. Like, am I getting this job? Is that job going to come to pass? Sometimes, and I'm going to be clear about these prediction elements, guys. Sometimes things really depend. There's no black and white with predictions. So I was like, am I getting this job? Am I going to get this interview? It's like, let's slow it down a little bit, because sometimes I can read if someone had approved it and like, oh yeah, you're approved. They accepted you, and I can read that energy. Sometimes it's up in the air. Sometimes there's randomness in life, guys. Okay. And so some questions are just like, there's randomness that happens that require your touch on things, right? So we just have to understand differences when it comes to predictions. Sometimes someone asks me about something where it's already aligned in their trajectory, and I'm just like, oh yeah, it's going to happen here. Here's the specific dates and times. And sometimes I'm like, y'all ain't doing anything on this. Like, y'all ain't like showing up. Y'all sitting back and just thinking somehow it's supposed to like attract and manifest in your life. It's like, that's not how life works. But as a psychic, I'll let you know what's blocking you, what needs to be focused on in order to bypass the blockage, right? And so this is not for you, Ashley. It's inspiring a thought for people who just think that everything is predictable or like every step is written in the stars. That is not the case. And so it's my job as a reader to say, like, this is out of alignment. You're not working here. Resolve this way, this time. Like, we have to guide you. That's what guidance is called. You know, and there's so many people in this world that want a quick fix. I'm not going to want, just tell me what I'm going to want. They rely on a psychic and say, they're going to tell me what I'm going to want so I feel better. It's like, that's not how all this works. Life doesn't work in that two-dimensional format, guys. You know, we got to be more clever about life and what we do need to do and how to show up and participate. And as a reader, we can give you all that information and give the information so you can participate and show up and accelerate things that happen in your life. But I'm so pissed off by these manifestation communities that people just think, because I want something, it's supposed to just show up for me. And it's aggravating because I have to clean up a lot of that bullshit in our spiritual communities in every read. Because like, it doesn't matter if you want something. There's many people who get things that they don't want, and so that's not how life works. You know, we have to show up and be that person. And so unless you want to do that work, then you're going to be stuck paying for these telephone psychics that just want to pacify you. And, you know, what I like to do with my clients, see with relationships and tell them, like, you know, if there's a person coming in 3 months right here, but it's a repeat of a past relationship, you want to make sure that you don't repeat that, you know, that pattern. So you can bypass that, you know, similar relationship in 3 months by doing this, and then someone else can come in your corner. Like, there's so much complexities to the future. And I would hope you all want to know that, right? Because I've done it with a lot of clients. I'm like, yeah, you have someone come in 3 months, but they're a repeat. They're another cheater as this person here. They're going to take advantage. So we got to resolve this energy that you have taken advantage of for yourself on. Resolve that energy so we can bypass that pattern. And then another chapter opens up in 6 months. We have to think this way of how to construct. Sometimes you guys are questioning things that need to be constructed. Okay? And the only reason why I'm online, I started to do this whole YouTube stuff 2 or 3 years ago, because I feel like people need education about going to psychics, about predictions, about trajectories, about all these things. People need education on this because people have no clue what these spiritual communities are teaching them. A load of crap, actually. So that wasn't all for you, actually. That was just inspired the conversation because people watching, I feel like a lot of people still don't get it. They just don't get it. And a psychic told me they don't see love for me this year. So like, they're such a bad reader. Like, how do you know? I've had this in my rookie years. A woman was doing nothing. She wanted to be famous. Literally, she wanted to be famous. She wanted love, and she wanted a rich man in her life. But yes, she suffered from depression. And I said, I looked like, well, you want to be an actress, but you haven't had any acting school. No. I said, and I don't see you practicing. No, I never practiced. I'm like, what? I said, but also I feel like you're depressed and you don't leave your home. She's like, yeah, and I feel I'm very like agoraphobic. I don't like to meet people. I said, my love, like if you don't change this, and I got to the root of the reasons why she's feeling this way, said I dug up her past traumas, I dug up her past, unresolved issues from past incarnations and the current incarnation, all the stuff. And she confirmed all it was accurate. She's like, yeah, that's true, right? I said, but this needs to be shifted, and here's how you do it. And then if you don't, you'll be in the same position in a year. No joke. When Yelp was the thing, she left a review of me at Yelp saying he's not a psychic. He's a spiritual coach. Even though I had spiritual coach in my title at that time too, he said that he didn't see anything happening for me, and I'd be in this same position a year later, and I'm in the worst position. I'm like, she just acknowledged that was true because I didn't tell her what she wanted to hear. But if a spiritual guide or psychic or a mentor has been doing their craft for a long time, you might want to consider what they're saying. That there is some personal development that needs to be happening as well in your trajectories. So many people miss that. I want something. Tell me when it's coming. It's like, I wish life was so black and white like that. Tell the people who are starving and suffering in their lives that it's so easy just to want something, think about something, and that it'll manifest. The people in third world countries who are abused and in captivity, they want a better life, and it just doesn't happen for them. Tell them it's that easy before you start thinking about these questions this way. So much of that, this online, psychic tarot bullshit that I see, that it frustrates me because it contaminates soul evolution. It contaminates the space of spirituality and true essence of the art of reading. So there was my soapbox for a moment. We're back to Sarah. All right, Sarah, card pull for Sarah. We got to know these guys. We have to really start going deeper. We got to start wanting deeper. And a lot of people will hear that and it won't register. But they hear over and over and over and over and again, maybe it'll register. But maybe people hear like, oh yeah, I don't want to do a lot of work. Find another channel. Go find those channels. They put the hands on the screen. 555 manifestation. You'll be a millionaire tonight. 555. You found this video. Go to those channels. So they'll pacify you. All right, Sarah. Sorry to those who do know me know I do like to throw in a good rant or two, right? Somebody will ask me, I miss your rants. So, okay, Sarah, you got the because you did a card pull, so I'm gonna do a card pull, but I also psychically tune in for you too. The Eight of Swords and the Sun card. Okay, so with that said, there's a situation, Sarah, you feel trapped in. Right. And I feel like you're doing your best to navigate the situation, but there still feels there's a trapped circumstance that you're in that you're not able to express or to shine the way you want to shine. So because of feeling being trapped, I feel like you're bound by these certain conditions that I feel that is also might be making you feel like you're inhibiting yourself a little bit. But at the same time, you're taking advantage of the situation too. And so that needs to be addressed. Now, that doesn't mean you have to leave the circumstance. If you can acknowledge the fact, I feel a little trapped here. I feel a little bit maybe taken advantage of, or I feel, excuse me, that I'm not really shining the way I want to shine or being appreciated when I want to be appreciated. If you just acknowledge that, you can still take advantage of the situation and shine. That's what the Sun card is saying here too. So literally, there's light on the other side of the trapped energy. But what cyclically feels to me is that there's a circumstance you're in where you feel like you're being deprived, you're putting a lot of effort in, but not getting the appreciation or the amount in return, but somehow it's still kind of benefiting you. Acknowledge that emotion. Okay. A lot of times you get into circumstances like, oh, I feel a bad energy about this. I have to completely leave it. It's like, no, you can acknowledge there's an imbalance with it, but still also take from it that's going to be something that's very beneficial to you. And that's what this is talking about, so there could be something that, like, many people get into a conditional relationship. They know they married for money, but then they're like, okay, but now I'm 5 years in and I married for money. Now I want something more. It's like, well, you're not financially stable. Just leave that relationship, I tell people. So you might want to take advantage of the conditions that you have set up for yourself to get yourself to be independent, right? So it's okay to find the imbalance, but still be able to take out of the situation that's going to make you shine. Because I feel like in time, that's actually this situation, whatever you feel in that trap situation, will actually encourage you to be more independent and shine more on your own. Okay, so it is necessary, this experience or situation that you're in, and so that's good. God, I haven't had this nasal drip in a while. It's these lights. So, and the shining part too feels really good, Stephanie, because I feel like still there's a misunderstood energy with you, or people are misinterpreting you, right? And I think that that's going to be broken as well. Okay, that's gonna be broken. Then people's like, "Oh, that's who Sarah is." Like it's clear because that vibrant energy, you're honest about the circumstance, instead of trying to like override the negative thing you're feeling about the trap circumstance. You acknowledge it, but you're like, "Yeah, I'm taking advantage of it the way I can, pulling from what I need." You'll shine, and that will lead you into other experiences. And I'm going a little long-winded with this for a moment because I keep getting other pieces of information. I'm just going to say you have to maybe stop being behind the scenes. There needs to be more of a leadership teaching role that you adapt. Okay? Nothing behind the scenes. It's okay if you do behind the scenes, but you got to go in front. You got to be more in focus of leading and being in front, in the sense, right? That's what, you want to start thinking about in the future, because there's also that restriction that says, "Oh, I can't be forward. I can't be in front. I can't be in the spotlight." It's like, no, that's actually where you need to be going, actually. So consider that, adapt to that. Okay. Hi, Anna. Good to see you. Let's see what we got for you, my love. Now, I want to say, like I was saying with the previous question, sometimes a question will inspire me to talk about something else in between questions. That doesn't mean it's related to you. And I usually could try to be clear about that too. Because sometimes peers are like, talk about this. Someone's thinking about this about because other people were thinking about things as I'm reading. So sometimes peers are like, talk about this, inform about that. So if that happens in between sessions, it's completely separate from the question that was being asked. And if it is for the question that's being asked, I will direct it at the person with the question. Just FYI. Because I feel like even through the live reading segment too, that people who are watching still need to have some sort of information too. To grasp or to be entertained by. Right. Okay, just card pull for Anna. Okay. I wonder why I get that in reversed. There's a relationship that's concluding or concluded that needs to completely be out energetically. Because I'll just show you the cards because I do the card pull to be flashy for online, but I don't need them. Yeah, again, but I'm just showing you cards. You get the Lovers in Reverse card, which I was feeling some confliction with a romantic, energy. This could be past. It kind of feels past, or maybe some present who's past, but it feels like there's an upside down energy with the lovers, the romantic aspect of your life. And the Magician card is saying it took your power away, basically. Or perhaps you're still giving power to this relationship, even if it's in the past, because sometimes we keep those past relationships current and it reads like a current person's still there. You're still allowing this past relationship or this relationship that had turned upside down to be actually depriving you of your power and energy to where you might be actually suffocated in certain relationships because of it. And the Death card in reverse is saying, it's time to transform out of it. So the Death card in reverse is a lighter tone of, that you probably just have to shrug this one off in a sense and really kind of evolve from it. It doesn't feel like it's a complete total change that's being made here. It just feels like you need to kind of let this go and really kind of understand and put it in its place. This past energy of this past relationship that kind of still kind of fucks with your brain and kind of takes your power away a little bit. Right? So I think this is something to ponder. It feels like old, but also still feels current too, I think that's the phase, right? And you might be overly generous, my love. You might be too generous. You might need to curb that generosity a little bit and not give people the benefit of the doubt too much. Okay? Because as I was sitting there looking at me, I'm like, yeah, I feel like she's overly giving, overly generous. And I used to be this person. I used to be like, they did me wrong, but I can understand it because they were going through this. So I can understand it because they were going through that, right? And then you kind of like override, what you needed. So you can understand why they've done certain things for yourself, but also say, I don't deserve that either. And I'm not tolerating that energy no longer. So it's about putting that in balance in play for you. Okay. Which will then open up a great a whole new world of relationships, in sense. And now I'm not just talking about, romantic relationships. I'm talking about like friendships and other interactions, and how you even engage with current relationships, right? It will shift a lot for you in that regard. Okay. Let me just hop over to the PayPal too. Let me see. But yeah, I think that's kind of the essence. And guys, of course, in a one-on-one read, it would be a lot more deeper in explanation and context. But these are simple reads. And remember that for this, when you're asking this, they're blind. I don't see who you are, which is sometimes I don't, but they're very simple. And my one-on-one sessions, we elaborate specifics and past and all that great stuff. But trying to set the tone with these simple card pulls, which the card pulls were designed just to say, hey, this year's about love, and then moving on. I probably spend way too much time than I intended to on it, but let me see here. Felicia's, will my husband get the Boeing job? Okay, Felicia, your husband needs to check in. Okay, I think he needs to check in and say, hey, what's going on? I think he needs to kind of follow through. I don't know if he's gotten a little lazy on it. But I do feel like he'll connect with a position. I can't say 100% is Boeing 100%, but he'll connect with the position between the next 2 to 3 months. So here we go with this summer energy again. So I feel like he'll land with something, but I feel like he needs to check back in with it. I'm not getting complete resistance that is Boeing, but there might be also an opportunity for him too in a similar environment that also might present itself to him as well. So, and at that time he might have to choose what that may be, whether it be either or. But they're just saying he's he's lagging on it himself. So so perhaps he should show more interest and say, hey, I'm just checking in, about this position, and But he will find a position. I definitely do feel that. I just feel like he's just kind of dragging his feet on it a little bit, which I wouldn't say is necessarily bad, because I feel like there's been so many delays since November till now. There's been so many things delaying. So I feel like even the positioning is delaying on the hiring process and all that stuff too. But by this summertime, he'll latch on to a positioning. So yeah. Bonnie wants card pull. It's $15. You sent 10, so I'll make this very super simple for you, Bonnie. Because it's 15, you sent 10. I'm not nickel and diming, but just to be fair for others, I'm just going to do a very simplistic card pull, whatever comes out. It's not going to be a full-on read as I've been doing. Just to be fair, because if other people could just pay out $10, they would, right? So I'm sure it was an error on your part, but I'll just do a simple pull of what needs to be focused on. Okay. Got the 10 of swords, or 10 of, wands. Get the 10 of wands. What I'm sensing with this is I feel like you might be carrying a lot of emotional caca. Okay. And I think that's affecting your health. Okay. Now, of course, this is reversible. You can definitely change this, but I think we need to start looking about, am I being too responsible for people around me? I also think there's unresolved issues with mom, and I just like there's a lot of emotional weight you're carrying right now that it's potentially affecting your health. And I really feel like that we need to emphasize some clearance on this, or finding some sort of support to help you to navigate a lot of that so it doesn't affect your health. It's not that your health is, that's okay, Bonnie, we got you. I got you covered. I'm going anyways with you, Bonnie. You're good. Because I just saw that. I'm like, okay, we're fine. And you're new, so you get a little bit more. I'm going with the full read. But I think we need to have you purge a lot of this energy of being too responsible so it doesn't start affecting your health, because it's not that the health is, you're having health diseases, or, it's more about a conditional response from this emotional weight of guilt. And perhaps you maybe inherit that from the mom, because I felt the heaviness from the mom energy. So perhaps you've inherited this energy of too much encumberment from mom, either she was a source with it or you've inherited that type of behavior from it, right? So putting it in play, because I think a lot of that's maybe preventing movement for you, right? Because I get a lot of guilt around you right now, right? And I think it's time to like really start settling that guilt a little bit, and saying, maybe just I feel not so healthy because of this, and I get headaches, and then because maybe you feel this emotional weight at times, and I would like to say this emotional weight has been around for a long time. So you've been just this guilt energy. So it's kind of like you've been living with it for a while. So it kind of just like has been underneath it all. So you've like been kind of engaging with life with this undercurrent of that guilt, but it still interferes. And I think that addressing that now would kind of allow a lot of these other health conditional responses, to cease, to where you're like, my health feels a little better because I feel clearer, So it's just kind of an emotional read in that sense, And so I definitely want you to consider that. Whatever that unresolved with mom is or was, or what have you inherited with mom, even just come to terms with that more acutely, because I feel like once you do this, I feel like a lot of more inspiration and movement will happen, because we talked about movement in May, right? And just saying, I want to get to the bottom. I want to clear that out. And I don't think it's going to be such a major process for you. It's just the acknowledgement of stuff and the decision to make a different, a different change in your responses to things will lead to more inspiration. I don't know. I don't know if you used to write or wanted to write. They're encouraging to start writing again, or to write, because I feel like maybe a while ago, maybe you write or wanted to write or something, and you maybe lost that. Maybe you want to start journaling something or writing something, writing your experiences out, or just even writing about your past. Because I also feel like recycling the past energy, and maybe putting that into some sort of, writing and so forth, so you can get out, but also might realize, okay, I'm kind of sharing some stories and being a little nostalgic and putting things in place, and maybe I don't need this guilt. Maybe sometimes when I feel guilt, I feel like pressure in the head when you feel the guilt, and, feel heavy energy, and you might realize that could be why you have these occurrences, in a sense. So it's emotional. And don't think because of you resurrecting past emotion that things get worse. No, it just kind of, you might realize it's not as bad as you'd think, going to these past, resurrecting these past emotions, to just paint a better picture for you, so that's what I feel with that. And I went well beyond than a simple card pull, but some of these things need some explanation, especially when it's not so black and white, when there's some depth to it, as, if this felt to me. But the guilt's got to go, and I would make that your goal, and find a way to write. They keep saying again, I don't know why. So maybe it's been a long time, or maybe you used to journal, I don't know, or maybe you thought about doing that, and maybe do it now. And so something about doing that, and I hate to say like a diary, but I maybe want to align with that essence of a diary, but some sort of getting it into some sort of writing. I'd rather say journaling in that sense. Yeah, these are not black and white reads, I would say, which is fine, because life is not black and white all the time. There's always some sort of gray and spectrum of things. So last but certainly not least is Sydney. You're fine, Bonnie. Don't worry about it. It's all good. You are good in the hood, Bonnie. Okay, last but certainly not least is Sydney. You just got these right away. It's funny how these similarities of cards. What's going on, Illuminated Pro? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing good. Well, Mrs. Sydney Aaron, I had a little bit of a... Is there an anniversary of something coming up soon, Sydney? Like a death anniversary or something? Or something with Dad or something too? Because something just like with Dad came out, and some sort of anniversary or celebration of something like around the corner. So, not his birthday, because his birthday I think is in August. I think he's a Leo. But your dad shows up and just mentioning about a celebration or reoccurrence of like some sort of a, celebration or anniversary or something. I don't know, but you got the Fool card. So I think this is a new beginning for you. Yeah, but I know it's August. It's not that. It's that I told you. Yeah, I said because Dad's Leo, right? In his August, so it's not that because that's far away. Something like even in May, some sort of anniversary or something, or celebration of something, But yes, this is a new chapter. I think you feel differently too. Or maybe your dad's just highlighting something that might also come in May. That's maybe something that's not consistent of the past. But perhaps something does become a marking point for May with you. Okay, so that's probably what it is. Your dad's probably your sister's birthday. Okay, because that's feeling like in May. So that makes sense. Because I'm like, it's not his birthday because his birthday he's a Leo in August. But so yeah, probably your sister that he maybe wants to celebrate too and honor your sister. But yeah, things feel new. And in the Queen of Pentacles, you have a nurturing mother energy in spirit. This might be a grandmother energy. So your spirit is around you. You're getting more, because like Queen of Pentacles is my grandmother energy, my maternal grandmother energy. So there's a connection with the maternal grandmother energy with you too. So your dad comes through in spirit. So does your maternal grandmother comes through in spirit too. And they want to emphasize for your sister's birthday for some reason. So maybe if you weren't thinking about maybe just do something to connect with her. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, because it feels new energy for you. Like you have a different beat, right? And I feel like, the past circumstances are not so, like the past relationship isn't so affecting you so much anymore. It's like, I feel like whatever you're struggling with the past relationship or circumstances in its place, right? And so, yeah, I said it for a lot of people. I think this summertime is a great summertime for you to meet a great community of people, Sydney. So finding new sense of community and perhaps even like getting the dating thing going on. Okay, getting the dating rhythm going on. But this celebration your dad keeps saying feels like an anniversary, but I guess it's a birthday or something. I feel like your dad is connecting with your sister too with the birthday. So yeah, connect, but it's always good for this year. It just feels very new. It feels like there's a maternal grandmother energy connect with you as well, like giving you the support. And I feel that there's going to be a lot more sense of community for you this year. And if not, also opening doors to dating this year. Spirit wants you to be a little more in control of that too. So yeah, you said you're a horrible dater, but you understand what that means. You're only a horrible dater because you were not in the position to date. Dating just means like, hey, I'm open to meeting people, and sure, I'll go out with him. That's what we mean by dating. So if you're a horrible dater, that means that you were not ready to date, in a position to. I don't even know what that means, City. I'm a horrible dater. You're a horrible dater. It's like you meet someone, you go out with them. That's what dating is. I'm getting to know somebody. That's what dating is. So in order to have a relationship, you have to get to know somebody, which means that's dating. Okay. So just classify. Yeah, dating just means change the definitions. I'm open to meeting new people. All right. And getting to know people. That's it. So good. Time to enjoy life and being the essence. Absolutely. 100% for all of us. Everybody is the time for that, So what's going on? Can I read that right? Arakalin? Am I saying that right? Welcome aboard. Yes, you're late. We're about to conclude. Most people have always scattered around your live readings, but we're come to an end in concluding that. But yeah, so let's kind of finalize my final thoughts, actually. And I never even changed my banners, but whatever. So the final thoughts is to circle back from the movement of May. It's time to be really firm in your voice, really firm on your perspective, and really kind of adapt and integrate into that new paradigm that we've been seeing for ourselves from April. This new change. I'm not taking shit anymore. Okay, what does that look like? I'm releasing the guilt. What does that look like? I'm not depriving myself anymore. What does that look like? Right? So it's time for us to start really adapting and integrating with that newfound perspective of ourselves. And then once we do, then we start actually allowing ourselves to move with ease and move forward where we're not feeling like the rug's being pulled beneath us or we're being pushed in the current because we're out of balance. So that May energy, we want to own it. To simplify, we got to own it. Okay. So Illuminate Pro says, are you live every Thursday? Yes, but some weeks I take off. So I may take off next Thursday. I always put a sign up and I always let people know. But for the most part, every Thursday, I do take 1 week off a month. But I'm also live every Wednesday morning with the Leo King, David Palmer, and Christopher Witecki for LOL. So always live Wednesday morning, and Thursday night I'm live every Thursday, except there's a week I take off a month. It'll probably be next week because I haven't had a week off in a while. And so, yeah. And how's the camper? Cindy says, oh, yeah, let's talk about my life. Oh, the RV life is great. We bought a new RV, and so we took it to Pyramid Lake for our first trip last weekend, and it's amazing. Awesome. Pyramid Lake over here, we had two major big lakes, Pyramid Lake and Lake Tahoe. Most beautiful lakes I've ever seen, like Caribbean, like see-through water. It's amazing. Lake Tahoe's like in like the forest and trees, and it's like rocks and stuff, and it's amazing. And then we have Pyramid Lake. It's like high desert, open, and just like this blue crystal water. It's just beautiful. So yeah, we took the camper, stayed a couple days, couple nights with the dogs. And yeah, it's a nice getaway. So y'all need to find a getaway too as well. But I appreciate every single one of y'all. I'm going to take off next week, and we'll be back the following week, but also we'll be going live next Thursday for LOL. And in between now and then, if you want to book a session in again, because I've been saying these reads online, I'm being extended with these card pulls and questions, but when I have you face to face, it's just a different energy and back and forth. So I just opened May bookings. Was it a couple days ago? I sent an email. I don't remember. Yeah, sometime this week I opened up May bookings. So get your bookings into for May if you want to. ScottCruzPM.com. Do life readings. Again, we could dive deep into past life regressions. I'm a health medium. Dive deep into that. Relationships, business, finance, all that great stuff. See what the trajectories are. What's the unresolved karma? We really get to lay it all out for you in a one-on-one session. Well, I get to, not we. I say we because I talk about spirit. And I also do mediumship sessions where I actually, if you want to connect with someone who's crossed over, I do that as well. And I'm also working on different opportunities now as well. It'd be more to start a local community as well. And I also do intuition builder session if you want to work on your own abilities, find out what your own abilities are, how to strengthen them. I also offer that as well. ScottCruzPM.com. I'm going to run a funny commercial anyway. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I'll see you all next Wednesday, and then the following Thursday after that I'll see. And I'm trying to think what I want to close on. Y'all heard Save the Future, so I actually will close. I will close with my funny infomercial because to celebrate my 13th year, I created a funny infomercial. I will close with that, and then I will close with Save the Future music video if you all want to stick in the chat. My latest song, Save the Future, which is also on my music page as well, which I really want to get that in people's consciousness too. So I will see you all in 2 weeks, but also next week on Leading Out Loud. And again, ScottCruzPM.com. Appreciate you all. Remember, guys, you're all the gods and goddesses of your own myth. What do you want to create? Much love. Good night, guys. Are you or someone you love suffering from bad psychic readings like this?
What do you see with my dog?
I see that he barks and barks and shits. He's your grandmother reincarnated!
I need a real psychic!
Or are you exhausted from vague, recycled guidance like this?
Master Fabio, I need guidance around finances.
Do you have a dream, a job, a salary, a rich man?
No, I have none of those things.
Dear child, go into the circle at 1. Spin counterclockwise 33 times, then clockwise 66 times, repeating the chant, I'm a millionaire. The total should be 333 affirmations.
And don't even get me started on the Liberace-inspired mentors like this.
Sir Scotticus, why am I not getting the career I want?
You are not wanting enough. Want harder. Then forget about it. That is manifesting.
I need a new mentor!
If you're sick of all the fluff, the bluff, and all the pretentious stuff, and enjoy a good psychic that could spit spontaneous rhymes, Then hi, I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor, where I turn the vague into vivid, the fairy tales into truth, and the posturing into proof. Book a reading to get actual detailed insight into your past, your present mess, no judgment, and your future glow up. Receive guidance that doesn't just sound good, but gives you something to do. And yes, connect with your loved ones in spirit as they actually are, not always reincarnated as your dog.
It's you, Grandma.
Or your cat.
It's all gone.
Or your emotional support goldfish. So visit scottcruzpm.com to book your reading today, or now, or tomorrow, or on payday.
Readings Beyond Rainbows.
Scott Cruz is popularly known for his life-changing one-on-one readings to also guide in your soul ascension journey. With life readings, get insight into your relationships, career, health, trauma healings, past life regressions, and more. Want to connect with a loved one who's transitioned? Scott's mediumship session can be the gateway to you and your loved ones in spirit, bridging the gap between the physical and the spiritual realm. If you want to enhance your own psychic ability, Scott's Intuition Builder session can help expand your psychic and mediumship abilities. So sign on to scottcruzpm.com to book your own personal session today.
Doesn't look like a Devin or David.
David is his name. It's been so spot on.
And I don't know if you put it in the side of your end table or not. You still like to summon your end table that you use too.
Oh my god, we're crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if she's showing me flowers. Like, relay them or redo them. These purple flowers.
Oh my god, Scott, the flowers are right there. My orchids are purple. They completely are dead.
Yeah.
Did you even know? You nailed
Episode.
everything, every single thing. Listen, everyone, this guy.
There needs to be a connection with like a Native American ancestry. And they're showing me a turquoise stone. Yes.
I just went to a Native American dance class and I wore this stone.
Tell me something that he told you that came true.
Everything he's predicted has come true.
I just don't see it.
So he doesn't have cancer?
It's very possible.
Oh, Cameron's psychic who first questioned Brooke's cancer.
Scott Cruz.
Oh, there you won! You won!
You better question yourself. We're here to bring enlightenment, not confusion.
You might encounter negative aspects of self, but that's a freeing experience.
Because then they start realizing that they can't think outside the box. And I say, if you can't think outside the box, then who's the stupid one here?
We've all co-created this matrix. So if you don't like the matrix, that's you saying that you don't like your own reality, what you're creating for yourself. So we're all equal participants of the creation of this matrix. I don't just come on here and talk shit, repeat shit. I'm living it.